assembling the impeller assembly. And we're going to start off by attaching the bearing block and the impeller casing to the subframe.
Press fit.
Press fit.
All right, so now we have the coupler pressed on to the shaft and the bearings are also pressed on. This is the faceplate of the casing. So now we just have to press on the impeller. We're good to go.
So now that we have a fully built up shaft with the impeller, the bearings, and the coupling all pressed on, we can now place this into our pump casing and bearing housing that are attached to the subframe with bolts. Like there. Now we have to put on the other end cap of the impeller housing. One thing to note about this design is that we integrated the impeller bearing housing directly into the impeller casing. This is to ensure that the shaft is completely concentric to the impeller housing, ensuring that the impeller never hits the impeller housing. Now to finish off the impeller subassembly, we are going to attach the inlet pipe and then the top motor mount bracket to fully constrain the other bearing. So this is the impeller subassembly. Now this will mount to the base frame through these 4 bolts and then attach to the transmission shaft with this coupling hub. Now we're gonna build up the impeller transmission subassembly. We're gonna start off by putting the 2 pulley blocks onto the base frame of the subassembly. So now we are going to assemble the motor subassembly. And to start off with, we are going to be putting the motor mount onto the motor base frame. So now that we have the motor mount on, we can now attach the motor into the motor mount. Okay, so we have the motor mounted in with 4 bolts. Now the last thing to do to complete this subassembly is to press on the coupling to the transmission. Now we are going to press in the coupling hub onto the shaft. So this is the completed motor subassembly that will eventually get mounted to the overall base frame with these 4 bolts and attached to the motor transmission through this coupling shaft.
All right, now we're gonna start assembling the 2 transmission sides. For the most part, the 2 sides are identical, minus the 2 different sized pulley blocks for the motor side and the impeller side. All right, so how the transmission shafts go together is we have our keyway right here, and then we put on the transmission pulley, and then we have our retaining ring go on here, and we just got to press on our bearings and then coupler and shaft collar, and it's the same thing for the other one. All right, now that we have our 2 pulley blocks on, we can put them inside of the bearing holders, and then we can screw on the tops of the bearing mounts. All right, so now we have our completed sub-assemblies that are ready for transport to the final location. So let me just move everything on. You can see the different couplers line up. Here we go. So now we just have to screw everything down, screw together the couplers, and attach the belt. All right, so now we have everything assembled together. We have the motor block with an actual brushless motor in it. We have our 2 pulley blocks with the belt here. And the belt also works on any stage. So the same belt size. We just put it on the center one. And then we have our coupler to our impeller shaft here. And then our impeller is inside here. We have the inlet and then the outlet, and then everything is to scale. So let's spin it up and see what happens. Yeah, there is definitely a breeze. All right.
A piece of paper over it.